I want to continue talking some NFL, and we'll hit on some of the issues that are happening across the league as we're fast approaching 2 weeks from now, opening up the 2025 campaign. Hopefully the Eagles will open up with a victory over the Cowboys. But with that, the Indianapolis Colts are on our minds because they decided to go with Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson for the starting quarterback position. I can't say I'm surprised, but I think there's got to be more to the discussion on how you get there. Anthony Richardson was drafted 4th overall. Some are saying he hasn't gotten the right amount of time or opportunity to prove himself. You know, you knew that this was going to be a guy that you had to put in extra work to allow him to groom him into a starting quarterback at the NFL level. Only played in 13 games at the collegiate level. And I get it. All that is true. But if you are the head coach, shouldn't you or should you not go with the best guy that's going to give you a more of an opportunity to win a game? And that's all Shane Steichen and the Colts are looking at right now. They need to find wins in a division that is very winnable. I'm not sitting here telling you Daniel Jones is going to win you football games, but they are obviously with this decision. Your thoughts on Jones over AR for the Colts?
It's a little surprising as someone from the outside. You know, Daniel Jones, I was very surprised that the Giants even brought him back. I know he had the one good season there, but typically you don't pick up the 5th-year option on a rookie contract. You're saying a lot about what you think of that guy, especially at the quarterback position where you can get a lot of value out of a cheap quarterback and build around a cheap quarterback. We've seen what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz and did it again with Jalen Hurts before extending those guys, how much money you can spend elsewhere. So you'd think that would have been an opportunity for them to go out and build around him, but they didn't have the faith and they dropped that 5th year and then re-signed him anyway. And he looked like he did the first 3 seasons. Richardson, he's extremely young. He doesn't have nearly as many pass attempts as these guys do. I think I saw something like across high school and college, he had less than 1,000 pass attempts. And you have guys like Josh Allen who had over 1,000 pass attempts in college alone. Like he's very green, very young. You see the potential there, but he is so young that the game is so fast compared to the collegiate game. And he didn't even have that much. I think you have to take where he was picked out of it at this point. I know for discussion, it's part of the discussion, but
sure.
You said, the coaching staff, they're not worried about where he was picked. They're worried about winning football games. The unfortunate reality about the NFL is everybody has like a 2 to 3 year window maximum where they feel like their job's on the line. And if I'm a coach in Indianapolis, I don't care where you pick the guy. If I think the other guy can win me 8 games instead of 5, I'm going to go with him. Even if I don't think it's a difference maker for the playoffs, even if I think the guy who, if you give me more time with if you give me more time with the guy who would only get me 5 wins, down the road will be a better team. I don't think I have that much time. And that's what the league has turned into. Outside of a couple organizations that are willing to give coaches a long run and GMs a long run, the Eagles being one of them, there's not a lot of organizations who are going to be patient and allow you to figure this out with what, unfortunately for them, has amounted to essentially a project, a quarterback. You need to be able to protect these guys. If they couldn't do it early on, if he has some issues where he wants to sit out at times, maybe you don't even want to deal with the headache. Hey, man, we got a guy who's won 8 games in the league once before. Let's just go with him and see what happens and protect our jobs for another year.
I do want to put out there that I know some people are taking some quotes and running with them, and I watched the full Q&A session in front of his locker yesterday with Anthony Richardson, and I didn't think he said anything wrong. I thought he was very well spoken, and some of the things that are being put out there, some shops, some outlets that are like cutting up some things and like, yeah, trust has got to be worked on, whatever. Like at the end of the day, man, if at the totality of it, I thought he was on point with everything that came out of his mouth. He said, I knew somebody was going to be disappointed. It was between myself and Daniel Jones. One of us was going to win the job. The other one was going to lose. So one of us was going to be disappointed. Yeah, of course I'm disappointed. It's not me. But he answered every single question the way that I think he should have. I didn't think he veered off. I didn't think he said anything wrong. I came across as a team player, as someone that needs to grow. And in his mind, he thinks he did enough to win it. And I have no issues with him saying that at all either. He said he's been a better player this year in this camp. But as I said, some outlets are taking some clips and running with them, and that's fine. Hell, we just saw that with Dylan Gabriel over the weekend, which was just ridiculous, complete trash. With that being said, his agent is not doing him any favors. Derek Jackson stopped short of demanding a trade, but he wondered aloud if Shane Steichen's quarterback decision might have been predetermined when the Colts signed Jones in March of 1 year, $14 million contract. Quote, "We have a lot to discuss. Trust is a big factor that is at best questionable right now." So I just, look, you have to make the best decision. Their seats are hot. I don't believe in Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback, but there's obviously a disconnect with something that Anthony Richardson is doing, and whether it's a leader, and this is complete speculation, I have no idea, whether it's a lead, because we know as far as the athleticism, it's not even in the same ballpark what Anthony Richardson is capable of versus Daniel Jones and throwing the football, right? Running the football, whatever it is, making plays. But I believe it comes down to, and Shane Steichen said a lot, he's not going to give you the exact answer or the reason why, but he did mention checks. He did mention, audibles. He did mention, rolling coverages or pass protection, which you saw in the first preseason game where he didn't even pick up the guy on the outside and he ran scot-free and ended up getting injured in that one. So those are the things that I think we're all connecting as football fans. We'll see how it plays out. I have zero expectations for the Colts this year, but that is a division up for grabs.
Yeah, and if it's up for grabs, you go with the guy who can win right now.
I agree.
Although he was taken fourth, again, I think a lot of people from my recollection felt like that was an overextension, right? Maybe he's not the guy, and if you think you can develop him, great. But if you're not going to take the time to do that, then it wasn't like a situation where they had a veteran there who was going to be there for a few more years, and you could allow this guy to develop behind him. You need reps in football, especially at quarterback. He hasn't had them. You need protection, especially at quarterback. He hasn't had it. You need maturity and leadership on a team that doesn't necessarily have it from what, like you said, I'm not there, but from what it seems like on the outside, there's a lot of lacking leadership out in Indianapolis, whether it's coaching, whether it's players, that I don't know. Not that there's no leaders, but it's not the same culture as, again, I'm going to go back to them, but it's not the same culture as the Eagles where you feel like you could speak to 60% of the roster and they all are going to treat it like a leadership role. They all are willing to pick up the next guy. It doesn't feel like that from the outside there. And hopefully somebody proves me wrong, but it's a guy who there was a lot of question marks about, and not shockingly, those question marks still remain. He's he's younger than guys drafted this year. Like that's crazy. He's younger than Shadur. That's wild. The guy needs reps, needs time he didn't play a ton in college and he was still taken fourth. That's not his fault. And a lot of times we've talked about this in the past where if you aren't given the opportunity in the right organization and the right energy every single player is different. Tom Brady probably isn't the same guy if he doesn't end up in New England. That's just facts. Donovan McNabb might be better somewhere else. Patrick Mahomes might be worse somewhere. Like those things matter so much when it comes to this sport because the sport is so fickle and you need to be able to develop in a comfortable environment, learning while enhancing your strengths and then learning how to fix the problems as you go. And the kid really hasn't been able to do that so far. So it might seem controversial because you're like, well, is Daniel Jones a winner? No, but can he win you 2-3 extra games? Maybe. And that's why they made the decision.
Yeah, and I think when they put a bow in this conversation, because the Colts, there's zero expectations, plus 370 to win the division, behind the Jags, behind the Texans, Titans at plus 650. So that tells you all you need to know right there about the expectation for this upcoming season for the Colts. But, I do believe that there has to be a conversation of like, hey, if we start Anthony Richardson and we go to Daniel Jones, are we better off? Or are we better off starting Daniel Jones and then going to Anthony Richardson? I do believe you are better off doing that. Again, if Anthony Richardson did not win, I think it's pretty easy to sit here and say that if I was at those practices and I saw what Shane Steichen saw and watched the film, I'm pretty sure he came across as I think to a man here, they probably prefer a guy like Anthony Richardson to turn into the guy that they drafted fourth overall. Because if he does, your life is that much easier. So with that being said, we all agree there. having Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback, going to Anthony Richardson maybe 4 to 5, 6 weeks down the road, whatever it may be. Oh, by the way, injuries do happen as well. This isn't the end for Anthony Richardson. So we'll see what happens. Again, I don't know if somebody's going to force a trade. I don't know if there's going to be interest. Maybe the Colts dangle him. Who knows? But I highly doubt that takes place this year. We'll see what happens.